Hey everybody, ABC 10 meteorologist Brendan Menchef here with an extended weather update. We've got a big storm on the way to Northern California, and you can see it right there on satellite behind me. This atmospheric river event bringing a lot of rain, a lot of snow, and a lot of wind as well, not just to Northern California, also to Southern California. ABC 10, based out of Sacramento, we're going to focus on Northern California for the most part, but we'll touch on what's going to happen down in SoCal. Looking at the atmospheric river landfall intensity forecast, you can see the yellow dots here along the central coast. That indicates a level 3 strong atmospheric river inbound for that region. The level 2 moderate, those are the green dots up in the Bay Area and then also down into Southern California. But this moisture is going to be bringing it through Central California and then up into Northern California, where the other bit of the storm, once that first low pressure system moves through, is going to be down in Southern California. But yes, if you're wondering, atmospheric rivers do actually have scales. So a level 1 atmospheric river, weak, primarily beneficial. Once we get to level 2, mostly beneficial storm, can be somewhat hazardous though. Level 3 strong, this is the storm we've got inbound. It's about equal parts beneficial and hazardous. There's definitely a flood risk component to it. But of course, the rain is also very beneficial, and the snow, like what we're going to see in the Sierra and other mountain ranges, is very much beneficial. Level 4 extreme, so obviously kind of like hurricanes, that the higher the number, the worse it gets. Level 4 extreme, mostly a hazardous storm, somewhat beneficial, and then that level 5 exceptional is basically all primarily hazardous. Now, categorical strength is determined by the amount of water transport, so how much moisture is in the atmospheric river that's being brought in from the Pacific into California, and how long it lasts. So the more moisture and the longer it lasts, the higher ranking storm you get. If it's a quicker moving storm with not quite as much moisture, you'll get a storm lower on the scale. You can also get one that's not ranked, and it would just be kind of technically a 0, where it's not quite an atmospheric river, but it still is bringing some moisture in. In our case, again, it is a Category 3 storm. Here it is. You can see it on satellite already starting to push into the Central California coast. And this is where we're going to see the first round of rain. We're going to see some rain down in Southern California, too. We're going to get it up in Northern California, but the first area to see it is going to be right along that central coast. So here is high-resolution futurecast. So as the storm comes in, here's what we can expect. That first round of moisture reaches the central coast by the time we get to about Saturday afternoon into the early evening hours. But then really we see that surge of moisture really start to push in once we get into the late evening hours Saturday into Sunday. This is when we start to see rain down in Southern California, when we start to see rain across the Central Valley. The heaviest rain still off the coast at this point, but your center of low pressure is going to be out here, and that is going to track in kind of up the coast and into Northern California, which is what brings that atmospheric river right up the valley like that. But once that low pressure starts to move a little bit, which is what we see here, now the center of the low pressure is somewhere up in here. Heavy rain along the coast at this point, Sunday morning, pushing into the valley as well. And this is kind of where that atmospheric river is. So again, right along the coast, but now it's reaching closer to Southern California. Now we get into Sunday afternoon. The low pressure right up here along the coast, up near Cape Mendocino there, and we've got that heavy rain, heavy snow in the valley Sunday afternoon, but now that atmospheric river is pushing more into Southern California, and that is going to bring some really heavy rain to the Los Angeles area, San Diego, out near Point Conception, Santa Barbara, and the concern down in Southern California is because the mountains are so close to the coast right there, what we're going to see is the angle of that storm, the angle of the moisture coming in, combined with the way that the coastline is where it's kind of at a 90-degree angle like that. What's going to happen is those mountains are going to wring all that moisture out of the incoming atmospheric river, and it's going to be a lot of rain and a little bit of snow, but mostly rain. We could see 3 to 6 inches kind of for that immediate coastline area in Southern California, the lower elevations. But when you get up into the mountains, then we're talking about 6 to 12 inches potentially of some rain, not snow. That'll be rain, and that's instantaneous runoff, right? That's going to fall right down the side of the mountain, unlike snow, where in the Sierra, we get a lot of that snow. It stays up there. Flood risk is not quite as great. Down in Southern California, warmer storm, not going to see the snow levels really quite low enough there. So what's going to happen is it's all going to fall as rain, and it's going to be falling very quickly, running very quickly, I should say, down off the mountains. And so that's one of the things we are concerned about down there, the potential for flooding. Rivers, creeks, and streams definitely going to be running high, very high, down in Southern California, and then landslides possible as well. So lots down in Southern California alone. Up here in Northern California, story's a little different. We're going to get a lot of snow. This is going to be one of those big time snow events here in Northern California, combined with a lot of rain and a lot of wind as well. So this is now Monday at 10 a.m. Monday morning. The center of that storm is kind of out of Northern California. We still have some rain bands moving through. We still have some heavy snow going on. But now that atmospheric river is still getting dragged down between San Diego and L.A. So the focus on Monday is going to shift from roughly Point Conception to L.A. down from L.A. to San Diego. Let's zoom into Northern California now. Again, we are Northern California station, so we're going to break it down a little closer now for the capital region. And just a reminder, I had a viewer write in, actually sent me an email Saturday morning and said, just a friendly reminder, because some people don't turn their headlights on when it's raining or when the windshield wiper's on. It is actually California law. She wanted me to remind folks of this, but it is actually California law that when your windshield wipers are on, you're supposed to have your headlights on too. Just kind of helps everybody see a little better, a little safer for everybody, especially when we're going to get that blowing rain in the valley here. So we're going to get heavy rain, and that's going to be combined with wind gusts of about 40 to 50 miles per hour. So if you're out on the roads, it's going to be really hard to see because you're just going to have sheets of rain blowing across the road, especially if you're driving east to west, because those southerly wind gusts are going to blow that rain sideways. So just something to be mindful of. Wipers on, lights on, simple as that. But here we go. So running through Saturday, a little bit of sunshine. Mostly we got mostly to overcast skies, though. Really not expecting a lot in terms of rainfall, maybe a few showers out near the bay. Generally, the valley, I think, stays dry on Saturday until we get to about 10 or 11 o'clock at night. That's when that first round of rain starts to push in. This will be lighter rain, increasing as we get closer to midnight in terms of intensity, but generally starting as just some showers, not a lot of snow even by 11 o'clock. From about midnight to 6 a.m. or so, we'll say midnight to sunrise, that's when that heavy rain and heavy snow starts to push in to Northern California. Look at these colors that we've got out in the coastal range. We've got some orange and some reds there. We even have some oranges here. The model continues to update. Even have some oranges in the valley, and then some pockets of heavier rain as well. Look at the blanket blue coloring, though, of snow. That's indicating heavy snow up in the Sierra, even pushing across the Sierra into western Nevada. I mean, look, we got snow in Reno, maybe over in Fernley as well. Eastern side of the Sierra, going to see some snow. Of course, the highest snow amounts are going to be right along the crest. But something that's different about this particular storm as opposed to other storms we've had so far this winter season is that the storm direction is out of the south instead of out of the west. So because it's coming out of the south, remember we saw as it was spinning, that moisture kind of getting pushed up the valley instead of across the valley. So because it's coming up the valley, up the Sierra, we've got less shadowing for eastern and western sides of the Sierra. Whereas when we get that west to east storm, the eastern Sierra typically doesn't see as much. Lake Tahoe typically doesn't see as much because the highest mountains are on the west side. So it kind of wrings a lot of the moisture out before it gets into the Tahoe area, into the Reno area. This time, because it's out of the south, there's not quite as much shadowing. There'll be some on the eastern side, but generally it will be a higher snow event for eastern Sierra locations, places like Reno, etc. But let's keep going with Futurecast because heavy rain continues all day Sunday morning. Look at this. Now we got some reds and oranges in the valley out near Vacaville, Fairfield, Delta areas. Seeing those orange colors as well. Stockton, Modesto getting heavy rain. Heavy snow continues. Could have some embedded thunderstorms in here, especially through the afternoon hours. So not just rain, not just wind, not just snow, maybe some thunderstorms potentially. Not a high chance of that, about 15 to 30%. But there's a chance we get some thunderstorms tomorrow afternoon. I mean, look at this. Look at this red coloring out near Vacaville, Fairfield, Stockton, Modesto, red and orange colors, and that darker blue over the Sierra. It is just going to be heavy rain, heavy snow pretty much all day on Sunday. Frankly, it's going to be a washout. Really, no matter where you are in Northern California, you're just not going to be able to get anything done. It's just not a good day to drive, not a good day to be out and about. Rain, snow, wind. If you can stay home, just go ahead and stay home on Sunday. Get everything you need to get done today. Get it all done Saturday so that Sunday you can stay home, watch some TV, read a book, that kind of thing. Looking at Futurecast, by the time we get to Monday, things become a lot more showery. We still get some entrainment across the valley, so we're not going to see quite as heavy rain. It's not going to be as widespread by the time we get to Monday, but certainly, I mean, you see here this kind of train of rain, right, where it's just kind of one band. Areas that get stuck under these rain bands are going to continue to add to their rain totals on Monday, whereas areas that don't see those rain bands aren't going to see quite as much. The story, though, is the snow by Monday because it's just going to continue to keep dumping. The lift is there for the Sierra to for the snow to just keep falling. So we're not going to see a lot of relief in terms of travel conditions in the Sierra on Monday. The word of advice is, and I'm going to say this again later on in this video, but the word of advice is that if you're not going to plan to stay in the Sierra Sunday and Monday and potentially stay Tuesday, then don't go up on Saturday, because it's going to be almost impossible to drive through the Sierra Sunday and Monday with the amount of snow we're getting and the wind as well. But before we move on from the rain story, this is the excessive rainfall outlook. This tells us how likely flash flooding is. It's a level 1 across the valley for today, for Saturday, because, again, we're really not going to see much until we get late tonight. For the coast, it's a little different story. We are going to see some rain moving in a little earlier on in the evening, level 2 slight risk there. But look at this. By the time we get to Sunday, it's a totally different story. We've got that level 2 risk across the valley and foothills, level 1 across the San Joaquin Valley. But then look at the coast here, the lower central coast, and then north of LA, we're looking at that level 3 moderate. That's a 40 to 70% chance of flash flooding occurring in that area on Sunday. And then on Monday, like we talked about, that threat shifts further south, really between San Diego and Los Angeles. We still got that level 3, 40 to 70% chance of flooding on Monday. So the threat goes really from Northern California and the Central Coast on Sunday down even further into Southern California on Monday. So statewide storm here. Again, a lot of that has to do with the direction. It's more southerly, up really from the bottom of the state to the top, as opposed to across just one part of the state. How much rain can we see in Northern California? Generally, numbers keep going up and down a little bit. I think 2 to 2.5 inches is a good ballpark number. But really, I'm going to go a little more general, say 1.5 to 3 inches, because it depends on who sees the entrainment, right? Do you get stuck under rain for several hours in a row, or is it more like it just dumps and then it becomes showery after that? Do you see a thunderstorm? Thunderstorm is going to drop more rain in a shorter amount of time. So even with the high resolution models we got here, this is the IBM graph model, it can be tough to pick up sometimes on those thunderstorms, and especially here in California, where terrain plays such an influence. It's not just flat like over the plains, right? Where, you know, the only thing you're really calculating is where a thunderstorm is going to pop up. We got to worry about where the wind directions are. We got to worry about where the valleys and the mountains and the foothills are. So I think a good estimate generally is about 2 to 2.5 inches across the valley. Some of these numbers coming in a little lower. I wouldn't let that discourage you. Again, 1.5 to 3 is the general range of totals. But you see some of these numbers here. Woodland, Davis closer to 3 inches, Vacaville close to 3, Sacramento close to 2, Elk Grove close to 2. Again, San Joaquin Valley a little bit less, but this is just a model estimate. I think, again, 1.5 to 3 inches, good ballpark for the entire valley. Different story in the foothills. We're going to see potentially up to 5 inches for some foothill communities, especially in the Sierra. Because of all that rain, we have a flood watch, goes into effect late tonight, late Saturday night, continues into early Tuesday morning, everywhere in green, Valley, Delta, out to the coast as well. Winter now, kind of shifting gears from the rain to the snow, winter storm warnings, not just for the Sierra, but for the eastern Sierra into Nevada as well, even down into south central Nevada. But then also we've got a winter storm warning out in the coastal range, winter weather advisory for the Clear Lake area. So we're also going to see a couple feet of snow likely in the coastal ranges by the time we get to Tuesday, Wednesday. Snow levels start at about 2,500 feet and then climb to about 3,000 feet in the coastal range. A little different story in the Sierra. It'll be a little bit higher to start, and then it'll climb up to 6,000 feet for those snow levels. We'll talk more about that in just a second. But look at these numbers we're going to see. This is on par with a lot of the storms that we saw last year, where it dropped a lot of rain, a lot of snow. This is the storm a lot of folks have been waiting for. Instead of this 1 to 2 feet storm, we're looking at 4 to 6 feet of snow across the Sierra. Here are those numbers. These are model numbers, but look at this. 50 inches Kirkwood, 40 South Lake Tahoe, 40 at Donner, 26 Immigrant Gap. Reno even about 15 inches. Here's the European model, a little bit lower, but I think generally 3 to 4 feet at the passes on I-80 US 50. 3 to 4 feet I think is a reasonable number. Some of the ski resorts, 5 to 6 feet at the resorts, and then on the top of the mountains could see about 6 feet of snow. So this is a good snowstorm. Finally, it's been a long time coming. We've not had one of these since last winter, and finally this winter we finally got one in the forecast. Here are the snow levels that I'm expecting here. So for Saturday today, there's really not much there. This is more for when the storm starts late tonight. So really like 11 o'clock into the overnight hours. Going to start around 3,000 feet, which is pretty low because we do have some of that colder air right now. But then as the snow starts to ramp up from Saturday night into Sunday morning and through the daytime on Sunday. Those snow levels are going to climb because this is a warm atmospheric river storm. It's bringing in that warm Pacific moisture. It's not a cold storm, right? So the snow level is going to go from 3,000 up to about 6,000 feet. Could climb as high as roughly 6,500 feet. Generally, I think 6,000 feet is a good marker for Sunday, and I've highlighted it because that's when we're going to see the heaviest snow is on Sunday. Heavy snow continues Monday, maybe not quite as heavy, but still not a good day to travel. I expect extreme travel impacts both Sunday and Monday across the Sierra. Whatever road you're thinking about taking through the Sierra, it's going to get snow in a lot of it, so just don't go Sunday, Monday. Snow levels on Monday to about 5,000 feet. Tuesday, not quite as much snow, still some snow showers, but the snow levels do lower back down towards 4,000 feet. Again, the heaviest snow on Sunday coming down at times 2 to 3 inches per hour. It is going to be dumping snow up in the Sierra. Kind of the third part of the story, though, is the wind advisory across the entire valley. On Friday, the wind advisory was from about Sacramento to the south, but they've since expanded it to include the entirety of the Sacramento Valley. We've got wind advisories out all the way to the coast and through the Bay Area because the wind forecast has actually been ramping up over the last 24 hours. High wind warnings out for the mountains of the Bay Area. So we see up near Vacaville, Fairfield, right along the coast out towards Point Reyes, and then also on the west side of San Francisco, kind of along the PCH, right along the coast there. That is where, and then also along 580. I want to mention that 580 high wind warning because of the wind we're going to see. This is where the strongest wind will be. A lot of that has to do with the terrain, but it is just going to be a very windy day all across Northern California beginning on Sunday. So Saturday, the day to get things done, it's the calm before the storm because that winter storm severity index, the wind, is just going to be a mess by the time we get to Sunday, Monday. Here's that winter storm severity index, extreme impacts, that's the purple, basically all across the Sierra, 50, 80, everywhere in between. Really recommended do not travel. We're going to see chain controls for sure. Plows are going to have a hard time keeping up, likely when it falls at 2 to 3 inches per hour, and we're talking about 4 feet of snow at the top of the passes on 80 and 50. Going to be hard to keep up. If we see enough spinouts, we could see road closures for a while. This is why I'm saying, like I said earlier in the video, if you're going up to the Sierra today or thinking about it, today being Saturday, if you're going to go up there and be like, oh yeah, we'll have fun tomorrow in the snow, we'll drive back. That's not going to happen. It's not going to be easy to drive back Sunday or Monday, again, because of the amount of snow and the wind that we are going to see with the storm. So if you're going up to the Sierra on Saturday, today, plan to stay until at least Tuesday, right? Look at driving back on Tuesday just because of how difficult travel will be. Here are those winds now. Again, we talked about that wind advisory kicks in at 10 o'clock tonight. Not much in the way of wind until we get into the overnight hours and sunrise tomorrow. This is 7 a.m. on Sunday. Look at these wind gusts down in the San Joaquin Valley. Looking at 40 to 45 mile per hour wind gusts out along the coast and in the mountains out there. Even stronger winds. Could see winds in the mountains of about 50 miles per hour by the time you wake up on Sunday. And it only gets worse from there. Going through the afternoon hours on Sunday, winds ramp up to about 45 to 50 miles per hour across the valley, especially for areas on the east side of Interstate 5. That's where those strongest winds are going to be. Look at Jackson here, a model wind gust here of 57 miles per hour. It is going to be windy across the region. San Francisco, 51. Trees, weaker trees could come down. Branches, even some thicker branches could fall. Good time today on Saturday to bring in some of the maybe lawn furniture, patio items that are lighter, maybe taller items as well, like if you have those space heaters for the patio, good idea, bring those in or put them in a sheltered area. Secure loose items. You got 49ers flags out there for the Super Bowl. Just take them down for a couple days. I know, just wait till the storm's over. We still got time before the Super Bowl. You can put them back up. You just want to make sure you're prepared for this wind because the wind is a big deal. And like I said, it's actually been ramping up the wind gust speed over the last 24 hours. So easily could see 40 to 50 mile per hour winds. There's a chance we could even see something stronger than that in the valley. The other thing is power outages possible when you get winds at this speed. So just make sure your devices tomorrow are plugged in for most of the day, especially through the morning hours before we get that widespread wind in the afternoon. This way, if your power does go out, your phone's okay, your iPad, your tablet, whatever it is, your computer, this way you can still use it. You know, you can make those emergency calls if you need to. And a flashlight. Keep a flashlight handy as well because the winds will continue after sunset, although they do start to taper off. This is 9 o'clock on Sunday. And you see wind gusts now mostly, mostly up in the northern Sacramento Valley, Marysville, Oroville, 40 mile per hour wind gusts, parts of the Sierra. on the data here showing 40 to 45 miles per hour, but really we're expecting 60 plus miles per hour in the Sierra. So whiteout conditions are also likely. By the time we get to Monday morning, though, winds die down, that wind advisory expires. Not going to be nearly as bad on Monday, but it will still be really, like I've said, heavily snowing in the Sierra. So the worst of the impacts with the storm for Northern California are going to be Sunday. Starts to shift more to Southern California beginning Monday into Tuesday. But this is going to be a big storm for the entire state. Heaviest rain, again, Northern California on Sunday. Just plan to be inside. That's when we got the wind, the snow, the rain. If you can be inside, go ahead and be inside Sunday. Monday, things taper off, especially in the valley, although snow continues in the Sierra. By Tuesday, we all really start to wind down. Wednesday looks like a bit of a break. Still looking at a potential another storm Thursday into Friday. That's a little ways out. We're really focusing all the energy right now on that Sunday, Monday storm. So that's the morning update here. Use today. Dry, nice, mild day to go ahead and prepare for this incoming storm. And, of course, stay with ABC 10 for the latest storm updates. Thanks for watching.